Even when you did not know shit, you said if you sounded confident, people would trust you.
The Bernie Madoffs, the people that do these Ponzi schemes, they have no belief. Very, very hard to develop it.
What does the AI-powered engine room look like today?
I think they've watched too many Terminator films, and they think that it's going to be like Skynet.
Next year onwards, Europe will also be at par with US in terms of adoption.
No one's going to speed it up for you. You can't wait. You have to drive the change internally.
I want to talk about what jobs will go away, what jobs will get harder to replace.
This period right now, are we in a bubble? Who knows?
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back to AI GTM WTF. Today's guest is David Willkins, former SDR leader at Snowflake, community builder for thousands of SDR managers in the US, APAC, and EMEA. He sees what's really happening as AI collides with sales development. David, welcome to the show.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. I've been, going through a lot of research on you, listen to a lot of your podcasts. And in one of the podcasts, you kind of said when you first moved from rugby coaching into sales, the key transferable skills were confidence and voice control. Even when you did not know shit, you said if you sounded confident, people would trust you. My AI angle is, can AI actually help reps project that kind of confidence, or does it just make it painfully clear who sucks at the delivery?
Yeah, I think it's more on who sucks on the delivery. So this human to human interaction with people and how you can build rapport and build trust with people, that takes time to learn. Some people do have it straight away if they've been in the service industries or they've been around team environments. They know how to create that trust amongst people. But an AI bot can't teach you how to do that. It can teach you about how about the message and maybe how best to tweak it. But really, the big thing about when you're talking to people is that they'll know in half a second if they want to trust you or not. So an AI bot can't teach you that. And I don't think it
even if you are like Ted Lasso sort of a confidence, you still can't do that.
So guilty. I'm guilty. I've never actually watched Ted Lasso because I'm sorry for all the Ted Lasso lovers out there, but I don't find that very interesting. Football, soccer. But I think it's and it also goes back to this kind of human interaction. You see these completely different space, but you see like the scam artists of the world, the Bernie Madoffs, the people that do these Ponzi schemes and things like that. They have no belief in what they're selling to you, but it's those confidence artists, the way that they can get that trust and build that rapport with you. That's something that's inside of you, and it's very, very hard to develop it.
I get that. I totally get that. That reminds me of almost all the Ocean's 11 movie and, all the con artist movie. Why do we love them, by the way? I don't know.
Because Brad Pitt and George Clooney are beautiful men. That's why.
Yeah, perhaps that's one of the reasons. You said $1 million ARR is the point when SDR leaders become essential. But in 2025, I believe AI could be shifting those timelines. Do you think SDR leaders or do you think leaders are waiting too long, applying the old playbook timing where AI could let them operationalize pipeline way earlier?
Yes. So we've done now 30 events globally this year, meeting in real life SDR leaders in the US, Canada, Europe. And what has come out from those conversations that we've had with a couple of hundred leaders and dozens of global VPs is that they're seeing AI is going to be really good at account prioritization, account research, taking away a lot of those hours and hours of administration time that BDRs had to do in the past. And also BDRs, they've just come out of school. How can they really, truly process for a 10K or yearly report? And so that's where an acceleration will be in pipeline gen, will be in that real removing of the administrative tasks that BDR is going to have to do, having to do. And that will see an acceleration then in pipeline creation, because all of that, was it 70% of a seller's time is spent on admin tasks. And so if we can get back 20-30% of that time into actually execution, then we'll naturally see that increase in pipeline.
And do you think we'll also see a shrinkage in the human force as well because of that?
Yes, that was I asked that question at our meetup in New York on last week in September, and I asked the question: Are you expecting to reduce the sizes of your team? And we had about 40 people there. 4 people put their hands up. The rest said there will never be if we're making this headcount efficient and more productive, then the business is going to want to invest more in that headcount because they've proven their value and their worth faster. So it won't be a case of headcount reduction. It'll be a case of increased revenue contribution. So that made me think a little bit differently about that. So I was thinking, yeah, there's going to be a reduction in force, but actually hearing that from what this gentleman said, I was like, okay, actually that makes a lot of sense about how he's thinking about it and about these headcounts that are actually proving revenue, and we can actually articulate the value that each of those bring.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought of it that way when you said that. It kind of makes sense because now you know what exactly is working and what is the human potential and why not plug it more. So makes total sense. In the past, David, you've called SDR orgs the engine room for pipeline and talent. But let's be blunt. Most SDR orgs today aren't using AI enough, no matter what we say, to live up to that hyper expectation. So what does the AI-powered engine room look like today?
Yeah, and a lot of the big reasons is because a lot of businesses are slow in adoption. So I hear a lot of stories about AI governance councils that are being built within businesses. That's creating another layer of bureaucracy under the guise of we need to protect our IP. But what's happening is that there was a tool that one of a leader that was telling me early this week. She started testing in January. She was mandated she had to do a 2-week POC with them, and it's now September. It's a very low cost of the technology, but it's just not getting implemented because of this long drawn out governance council that's been built. So yeah, AI is here. People don't know how to use it and how to implement it into the work streams of their business. And it's not so much on the SDR side. It's more of a fundamental business side where they're scared of the repercussions of having. I think they've watched too many Terminator films and they think that it's going to be Skynet. I think that's the thing. And what's happening is that companies are not taking advantage of it so far.
I kid you not. I can totally relate to it. I remember back in my days, I used to buy something like, let's say, Apollo, which would cost me $100 a month. And I knew that as a mandate from investors, not from the CEO or the finance department, from the investors, we had to evaluate a minimum of 3 solutions. Even though I know this is the best solution I'm still going to buy, I would still have to, go ahead, spend 1 or 2 weeks, give a detailed report on why this is the best solution, give a proper report on, like it was like a Excel table I had to make, costing, features, whatnot. I don't know. It was just a pain in the ass. And I can imagine that thing would have just multiplied by now.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the old Silicon Valley rule of what, run fast and break things. And it seems like that's kind of slowed down now, where you're moving not so fast and being very scared to break stuff. And so it's really avoiding that kind of innovation that means that companies have thrived in the past.
That's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because everybody's saying everything is moving too fast. AI is moving too fast. AI is pushing boundaries, pushing deadlines. And now on one hand, we are just taking so long just to implement something.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I know. Just, I can't say anything else. It's just, I know.
All right. My follow-up question, what's that one shit that leaders need to stop doing if they want SDRs to be more than, let's say, just booking robots?
Yeah. It's my big piece on this. It's got to come from the C-level. And it's got to come from the C-level understanding the revenue contribution that the SDR team is contributing. A big problem is because I haven't been coached well enough is SDR leaders talking inputs and kind of pre-opportunity stage. They feel like because they're responsible for getting those meetings, that's what they should be focusing on. But it's really the execs don't care. Execs do not care about the amount of dials that you make if you're generating millions of dollars in pipeline and millions of dollars of revenue. And so leaders have got to really change how they communicate to their execs, but also the execs as well have got to also understand the critical nature of the role. And then you can meet in the middle in terms of making those changes. I hear it often, I've experienced it, where leaders are asking, okay, well, how many calls are we making? And it's like, that doesn't mean anything. Does not mean anything. It's about how many, it's that piece about what's our pipeline contribution against the total number? What's our revenue contribution against the number? Those are the things that we should really be focusing on. It's a real change management needed from the exec down.
Thank you. David, you've been running so many communities. In your communities, I'm pretty sure by now you must see a split. What I mean by that is, are SDR leaders actually using AI in the workflows, or are most still stuck in, let's wait for the RevOps or company or somebody else to tell us?
In the US, they're a lot more, they're trying to get stuff going and implementing those workflows. Europe is always 18 months, 2 years behind. And in terms of adoption. And also there's a lot more conservative of a small C approach in terms of as we mentioned earlier, around governance and privacy. And so US is doing it. EMEA is still watching and going, okay, when can we do this? What can we do? I think next year in Europe, it'll be a lot more of this kind of, right, let's do this. But it just means, though, that companies that have got their act together already are going to have a huge head start and have taken that market share. So like next year's too late. And so I think that's what I really seeing from both sides of in Europe and in the Americas as well.
Wow. Okay. So did I hear that right? That you said next year onwards, Europe will also be at par with US in terms of adoption?
It will never be on par. It'll just be where where America was at the start of this year is where Europe mid of next year will start to be. And it's always the same. And this is the big reason for having the community that we have, is trying to elevate our leaders to think, not to wait, but really take control of these things and these projects and these initiatives, because you need to speed this up. No one's going to speed it up for you. You can't wait. You have to drive the change internally.
Gotcha. I mean, I like that perspective that, you're trying to obviously elevate, all the leaders community. But is there anything else which is happening in Europe because of which you believe that, that gap will reduce?
Yeah. So I know it's happened. It's happened already in the US in terms of call ID. That's a big thing whereas cold calling, it's potentially marked as spam in the US. Those kind of legislations are going to be coming in as well in Europe as well. And there's simple things that you can do to make sure that your number has been registered, so that then when somebody calls, it's not going to look like a spam number in Europe. Like, it's just be a number. And doing those kind of tweaks now is going to help you a lot when it comes to, if you're making calls and if you're trying to engage with prospects, making those connection rings be higher. And that's something that can be done, and you can use that kind of AI analysis to see, okay, where is the our dial, is our connection rate lower? Why is that? And then making those tweaks and then seeing that connection rate increase.
What do you think top leaders are actually doing differently with AI right now that you feel laggards are kind of flat out missing?
They've looked at their whole workflow from lead sourcing that over to even to revenue closed. They've mapped it out, what their existing process is, and then they've looked at, okay, what tools do we currently have in place for those things? And then they're going out to market, and now the leaders need to be having demo calls with products and solutions. They need to figure out, if this is our use case, how if this is our flow, what can we do to optimize this? And, it's tough. Leaders are on calls every hour of every day, but they really need to break out some time once a week for a couple of hours to really understand what's going on in the market, then seeing how they can implement that in their flow. That's what the best leaders are doing, is they're looking at that on a quarterly basis. Where can we improve? Where can we get those efficiencies? And those are the ones that are accelerating. And the ones, again, that don't do that and haven't got that very clear flow of what their process is and how they can optimize it, they're the ones that are really being left behind.
I'm often curious about, the psychology of, let's say, anybody who recognize there's a solution out there is not doing anything about it. And since you work closely with these SDR leaders, why do you think they're not able to do it? Or why do you think they're not doing it at all?
Yeah, so I had an idea at the start of the summer about a gap that I thought was in the market. And then in the space of 2 months, I had 3 vendors approach me to ask me about this idea that they had, and they'd kind of got seed funding, pre-seed funding. And so I think there are things out there in development. So my piece was, okay, if you have a sales call or a BDR has a prospect call, how can you get those call notes and get them automatically uploaded into your CRM? And then how can you then put that then into your pipeline review workflow, and have those intent signals and showing, okay, this needs to move and progress. I think they are happening, but it's slow uptake because, again, companies are very, I'm not sure really what we should be doing in terms of our AI strategy. So I think it's just that. And also there's been a lot of investment in solutions that are not going to be picked up as a whole and adopted as a whole. So I think there's just that kind of companies that are in that point of AI saying like, yeah, this actually would really work. I don't know if there's like VCs are just a bit like, okay, hold on for a little bit. We've invested a lot in other tools. Companies are a bit, oh, I'm not sure about this. It's a bit too much. So I think there's a lot of stuff coming down the line, but I don't know if I just think it is a case of super early in their adoption phase.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the last podcast we had Matt Green, the CRO of Sales Assembly, and kind of said the same thing. How people are kind of skeptical because you don't know if you buy a tool today that company will even exist in 1 year, and you're going to change the entire workflow just based on that. And I think I've been the victim myself. I'll not deny it. I recently loved the product. I had a use case which I solved for. I found the perfect tool. I went to purchase it, and they said we're pivoting to something else. So yeah, and I'm back to square one. One. I have to find another solution which does exactly that.
Yeah, that's very annoying. And it's like, and I completely agree with Matt. I think there's the book Chasing Crossing the Chasm, and how you have those kind of early adopters and people that are pre-wave. You're always at that beck and call of, beck and call of, will they actually be profitable in 6 months? Will they get that additional funding? Will they just get acquired? And will some of their IP just being used for a bigger tool? This early stage point as well, is really I think the way I can describe it maybe is like it's kind of like the .com boom and how that happened, and then a lot of companies just disappeared overnight. And it's like, is it kind of like this period right now? Are we in a bubble? Who knows?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's so hard, and I think there will only be a certain degree of people. I think we saw the same thing with Clay. We saw the same thing with multiple other tools, where some of us probably adopted them before, earlier than anybody else.
Yeah.
And some of them are kind of wired that way, where they also are looking for somebody else to do it, so that they take a lead, they report success or failure, and they can just reap benefits of it. So yeah, I mean that's my learning that some people are kind of wired differently.
Yeah, 100%.
You said at one point of time, in fact, in multiple times, you've said this: AI makes good SDRs great and bad SDRs worse. I want to talk more about this. Do you actually see SDRs being replaced by AI, reshaped? We talked about this a little. I want to talk about what jobs will go away, what jobs will get harder to replace.
So I said I think it'll make bad BDRs lazier. Is the way I said it. It's because when I became an SDR 12 years ago, I had a phone, I had Salesforce, and then I had the early version of Zoom Info. And that was it. And that was too much anyway then for me. And now we've got all these tools, and the distraction from doing the role which of executing, making dials and having compelling conversations with people, that's hard, but creating a list is easy. And so the kind of the best SDRs will take the AI tech stack that's going to come in and see that, okay, all of that admin work is going to get done for me. I can then just focus on making more money. Whereas the bad SDRs that being lazy is, okay, I've got all these tools. Oh, I'm going to dig into it, and I'm going to create the perfect email that no one ever reads, and I'm going to completely avoid calling because that's who calls, who picks up the phone, and it's like only the best reps in your company. And I think that's really where what I meant by that. It's we just need to make things super clear and simple for people, and remove everything that gives them an opportunity to not be productive and efficient. And if we do that, then jobs won't disappear. It's about taking advantage of these things that are coming our way. You have to adapt. When the horse and cart was built, some of them went away, but do people think like wheels were going to disappear? No, they adapted and they built wheels for cars, and that's a terrible analogy. But trying to say is like have to just adapt to the times.
Yeah, quite interesting. I mean, I do have a follow-up question on something which we discussed earlier a little bit. I want us to think that, there's an SDR leader out there who probably has a process. He does not know whether he has the latest process or he's still maybe using the, whole horse and cart thing. Draw a comparison for me. Like how do you think, let's say, a GTM process looked like, let's say 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and where you think it is today? Maybe like 3 eras, if you can.
Yeah, I've just been building this for a company recently. The old system would be, and some companies still do this, is I want you to go after this account, and then a BDR would go, okay, and they would go and find some information on one data tool. If they're lucky, they'll have a second data tool, and then they'll just put it into a generic email sequence with some generic phone call triggers to use. That's the old way of doing it. Whereas now it's account prioritization and allocation of accounts. So what's going to have the best, what's got the biggest, the highest, the more likely propensity to buy. Those are the accounts that we focus on. We then do data waterfalls to enrich all the business units that we're going to be going into within that business, and find all of those people, and using multiple data sources, because German titles are different to French titles, are different to English titles. So you need to have that kind of waterfall enrichment to find all of that information. And then you want that information, those insights, to be put into your sales engagement platform in a one view. And so, hey, this was the insights and the value that we believe we can help provide for that prospect. Then being able to put those snippets into emails, or these are the bullet points that you want to be hitting on in your cold call, to show that you're relevant and will provide value for the prospect when you made that call. That's what I'm trying to find currently currently trying to find with a client is that kind of change. That way is going to be the more efficient way, the more better use of money and of time.
I love that. And I totally agree, because I've been coaching SDRs for now 18 months through my school. And I think everything I used to teach 6 months ago has changed. And every month I have to, bring in a new playbook. Like something is changing. There's a new tool out there. It's kind of exhausting, but at the same time, it's kind of interesting as well, because sometimes it gets boring to do the same thing over and again. Like you said, there are companies out there who are still going after, we want to go after the named accounts. We want to go after this set of accounts, somebody who got funded, all those old triggers. I think, I've said this enough on almost all the podcasts. The way, for example, we are booking meetings right now, we are using some form of automation where we are able to find all these account executives who are in the market looking for some sort of solution to what we're already providing. Now, the goal is, can we do this sooner? Can we do this quickly? Can we do this at a speed at which we can reach out to more and more people without, making it sound like, hey, we are actually doing a spray and pray? That playbook did not exist like 4 months ago for us.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing, in my next podcast, I'm bringing CEO of Swan. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, Amos. And I think he's rewriting the entire playbook. If you speak to him and if you listen to his podcast, and I think every day we see, in fact, I don't see the old playbook anymore being published anywhere, because every day you will see like a new prompt. Every day you will see like, hey, somebody has already hit, $1 million pipeline in 3 months or whatnot. I don't know. Is that something you feel too?
So that's good plug for the next podcast to listen to. Listen to that. Sounds really good. Listen to that. I will. Yeah, I think I also have to take these things that go put on LinkedIn with a pinch of salt. So sometimes where I see I booked 5 million meetings, comment there for get my playbook. Like, okay, maybe that works for a SMB or B2C transaction, but the companies that I've worked at, the snowflakes of the world, where it's the enterprise is the tippy top. It's a different style, it's a different process, and it's a different structure. And I think a lot of leaders need to always have a very critical eye of what they see online about these new playbooks and all of that stuff, and think, okay, how would that actually work for a company like me that has our ideal customer profile is CEOs of FTSE 500 companies, for example. Like, okay, you can't do the same playbook as Jim at Bob's Bikes, who, it's a different, it's completely, is comparing apples and pears. So I think
100%.
everyone needs to have that critical eye.
100%. Yeah. And I say this out loud every single time. I sell to sales leaders. I sell to account executives who are all active on LinkedIn, who check their phone all the time, who are constantly checking their emails because they're expecting a DocuSign or whatnot. So chances of me succeeding are going to be way higher than if you're selling to a CTO. So yeah, take everything with a grain of salt, what you find online.
Please do.
Cool.
Please do.
All right.
Don't believe everything on the internet.
Yes, it's like equivalent of don't get into a car with somebody. All right. I have a quick challenge for you, something I've never done before. David, I know you were not expecting this. So the challenge is help us build the $1 million pipeline in 90 days with AI being in the driver's seat.
Okay.
Tell us, what's the first AI workflow you would spin up? What old school GTM tactics would you avoid completely? And what's the human and AI mix that you think will get you there fastest?
Okay. So I think it was, I mentioned it previously. So look at a tool that's looking at your CRM and looking at your breadth of accounts, giving it what your ideal customer profile is, what your total addressable market is, putting that into that system. So then it will pop out, okay, of the 10,000 accounts that you've got, these 2,000 have got the biggest propensity to buy. This is where all of your ABM, account-based marketing dollars need to go on. And even then, double click into those real highest propensity to buy, one-to-one account-based marketing initiatives, tier 2, one to many in terms of the industry, and then tier 3 use one to many, which is just having it on a generic use case side. And then once you've figured out all of those accounts and those priorities, then you have that data waterfall enrichment to really to find those multiple business units within that account. The biggest thing SDRs fail to do and leaders fail to reinforce is multi-thread within an account. You cannot book one meeting in an account and they expect to close $1 million. Whoever says that is lying, and they have no understanding of what the real world's like. So you need to be going after about booking at least 14 meetings within an account to really get into multiple business units, multiple levels of decision-making power. And then my big thing is around calling and call with value, and practice that as well. So there's some really cool AI training tools that will really help in terms of prepping your call on the cold call that you're going to do. So practice, but then execute as well, and then make those darts.
All right. I want you to be super transparent with us and tell us some of your favorite AI tools, let's say, you will use in this process.
Yeah. So on the first piece, I'd be looking at account prioritization enrichment. I'd be looking at something like PG.ai or Kernel to do that. On the data waterfall, depends on your budget. If you've got lots of money, Clay. If you want Clay but don't drive a Rolls Royce around, then look for something different, maybe like a full enrich, or maybe a user gems, or a loan scale. And then in terms of that training piece, Hyperbound. Hyperbound is the one for that kind of making the training harder than the game. So those would be the tools I would recommend.
Okay, that's awesome. I think that's a good start. And I think I like the fact that, some of that is actually basic, but I'll be surprised, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of leaders who are not even doing the basics, and that's clearly the case. They're failing. All right. We talked about earlier, how, tools like Hyperbound, which will help you pressure test situations so you're better when you're actually on the call. Speaking of pressure tests, you also said earlier that you run pressure tests in interviews. We talked about role play, stress handling, coachability. In 2025, do you think SDR leaders should be pressure testing for AI too? Like, can this rep adopt tools fast, craft a prompt, QA and AI output and whatnot?
Yes and no. So we see a lot of news reports about universities that are scared now because essays and reports are being submitted that are just AI created, and they're worried about the future around critical thinking, and for the future of people, critical thinking, and how they can adapt and change, or just believe something that an AI prompt generated. So I think, yes, some level of AI fluency is important, but I also think we all really have to understand that these are still young people coming into the workforce, and have they been exposed to all these other tech tools? They've just been exposed to Perplexity or ChatGPT. So I think we need to find that balance, some level of fluency, but no, we can't expect them to be knowing everything about every tool and all that kind of stuff. So it is definitely a balance.
Thank you. All right. Now I have a lightning round for you. You tell me it's bullshit or not. Ready? Okay. AI SDRs will replace humans in 3 years.
Yeah, I was going to say bollocks, which is the same as bullshit. Yeah, bullshit.
That's fine. All right. Outbound is dead.
Bullshit.
SDR leaders do not need to understand AI to stay relevant.
Absolute bullshit. They need to have, they need to know.
Okay. More AI equals more pipeline.
I don't like sitting on the fence. It's sore. Bullshit.
Okay. SDR leadership will be absorbed into RevOps.
Yeah, they wish. Bullshit.
All right. Yeah, I think you did a good job. All right. We're reaching to the final leg of the interviews. If the old GTM playbook was activity driven and headcount heavy, as we have understood by now, what does the AI GTM playbook look like overall in 2026? So I'll give you more insights on where you can talk about how will SDR leaders operate differently once, let's say, AI is kind of fully embedded, or close to being fully embedded. What skills will separate the winners from everyone else in this game?
It goes back to the piece that I mentioned about critical thinking and interpreting data. So not many people know this. I passed maths at GCSE in English by 1 mark. I'm not very good at maths, but
We can't be friends.
We can't be friends. Yes. Sorry. I was a rugby player, not a maths guy. And so
Okay, you win.
yeah. And but but my boss, Malcolm Murphy, who's a friend and a mentor, he had a PhD in maths. So I had to learn pretty quick from him about interpreting data and learning how to use information in the right way. And that's going to be where you as a leader will have more time back is being able to look at data and process it and be able to articulate that back to the exec team and also to your SDR team. So you'll have that time to really understand about, okay, where can we going as a business? For years, my planning in terms of what's the output that the BDR team is going to produce, I've always said, we're not creating pipeline for this year. It's too late now. If your sales cycle is 6 to 9 months, you've got to find stuff now for it to close in this fiscal year. We're building pipeline for the revenue goal of next year. So then that's a whole different kind of maths equation around, okay, what is our forecast for next year? Have we got it? Okay, then building up that reverse waterfall about what we're looking at. So that's the kind of level of understanding data that you leaders need. On a kind of tactical operational piece, it should give back more time to do higher quality coaching. So if BDR managers and SDR managers having 10, 12 in their team, which is common, it shouldn't be. It should be 7 max, because then you've got to have 12 one-on-ones. And those 12 one-on-ones, for the time it takes to prepare, to debrief, you're going to be spending an hour and a half on those. So you're spending nearly 1.5, 2 days of your working week in one-on-ones. So then it's going to be about, okay, how can we use AI to look at those calls that went really well? What are the pieces that work well, the triggers, and use that for for coaching of lower performing reps, but also for the lower performing reps. Okay, why are you not? You've got a very strong call connect rate. You get a very strong conversation rate, then you can't close. Okay, so why is that? Then we can start looking at what has been said in those calls, tone, confidence, credibility, and then you can start to train on that during your one-on-ones. So there's all this piece that you're going to get time back that you can actually use to really work on the growth of your team and the development of your team, rather than just say, this guy's shit, we got to get rid of him, got to get rid of her. No, if we did this one thing that we learned from the data, how can we make that person improve?
Yeah, I can see how SDR leaders will have to wear hats which they probably do not like, or some of them probably do not want to, change. So I can see how they have to, they'll have to kind of change. All right, David, final question. I swear this is the final question, final.
It's been fun.
Now, I want you to give me one hard truth for SDR leaders, founders listening right now, which is borderline offensive. You would not say that to your face, but they have to hear it.
I'll say it to their face. I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, no one gives a shit about how many meetings your team books. No one gives a shit. Like, meaning if you go into a weekly leadership meeting with your head of sales or your CRO and you talk about, we booked X amount of meetings this week, you are reducing the value of yourself and of the business unit that is taking up $1 million, $2 million of total cost from headcount and technology. You're reducing it to that. You need to start thinking as leaders, okay, what's the contribution to the bottom line that I'm bringing? And if you can articulate that, and if you can equate a number of per headcount, if you give me 150K all-in cost for a headcount, in 2 years, this person is going to be generating as 4x of that, or 5x of that initial investment. That's when CFOs, CROs, CEOs, CMOs will take you seriously.
I love that. And I think we kind of both save the best for the last. So thank you. David, thank you so much for keeping it raw with us. And for everybody listening, the GTM playbook has changed by now. David has kind of made that clear. So if you're still running the old one, you're wasting your time, budget, careers, and your own time. This is AI GTM WTF. Subscribe, share with your team, and don't get caught running the wrong playbook. Thank you, David.
Bye.